Hello friends and welcome to our channel Cloud Saga. In this video, we will be discussing about the services related to the network, which is called as VPC. So in this video, we will be discussing about what is VPC, what all components will be involved and what exactly they stands for. So suppose like we talk about subnets, route tables. So we will be discussing about all these concepts which will be involved. And at the last, we'll be showing you how we can create our own VPC. So before going further, please subscribe to our channel and share the link with your friends. Also, you can follow us on Facebook page, which is named as Cloud Saga, and the link will be in the description. And let's start our learning for the VPC. So VPC is basically a logical isolation of the network where we can launch our AWS resources. So this is basically a place where all our resources will be created up so that we can communicate to that resources on a particular port. So whenever you create a resources, there is a IP which is being assigned to it. So the IP will be assigned based on the subnets in which we will be creating up, and those subnets will be residing on VPC. So VPC is nothing, just a logical combination or a isolation of a network where all our IPs, the structure will be defined, how the routings will be coming, like what all IPs will be allowed, what all IPs are being blocked, what ports we will be allowing. All these configurations will be done in VPC only. So if you take an example of on-premises, on-premises we connect to the servers through the IP range. So that IP range is being defined by the networking team, which is being there for the on-premises server. So they create the particular range where your servers will be installed or your web applications will be there. And then they will be making some configurations based on which the routings will be allowed. So we can call it as a VPC as a logical data center also. So it's a logical data center, which is a isolated section of AWS cloud where you can launch your AWS resources in a virtual network that we define, so that we will have a complete control over our virtual networking environment, like selecting the IP ranges, what will be the subnets, what will be the route tables, and the network gateway. So all these things comes under our umbrella, which is called as a VPC. So if we talk about the VPC diagram, so in this diagram, we see a complete umbrella, which is the AWS, the first one. This is the AWS cloud where all the configurations we will be defining up. And this is the section of the VPC. So in this section, we first define the IP range that 10.0.0.0/16 will be the IPs which will be involved in this isolated or a logical data center or the network. Then we have public subnet with two subnets, which is called as a public subnet and the private subnet. So as the name suggests, public subnet, it allows the traffic to be communicating over the internet. So whenever we want our servers to able to communicate over internet, then these will be configured as a public subnet. So the web applications which we will be creating or the other things that will all be hosted in that public subnet. However, in the private subnet, the communication will be the internal communication between the servers or between the IPs that will not be available over internet. So suppose we have a database, and database will have all the informations which we want to restrict from the users to access it, because we will not be sure that whether that particular user or is entitled to fetch the data which is available on that database. So we create our databases in a private subnet only. So subnet is basically a segment of Amazon VPCs IP ranges where we can launch our EC2 instances. And the smallest subnet which we can create in AWS will be of /28, where we will be getting only 16 IP addresses. So if you see, we have defined a /24 subnet. So this means that the IP ranges for this particular /24 will be allotted to this subnet only. And whenever we create any resources under this subnet, then all the IPs will be assigned from that subnet only, which is available in the 10/24 section. Now coming into the network ACL. So network ACL is another level of security that we can call it as a firewall in terms of on premises, where we are segregating or providing the access control. So network ACL stands for the access control list, where we define that particular IPs will be allowed. So it is a set of rules that AWS evaluates in order to start with the lowest number ratings. So in this network ACL, we will be giving a priority. Based on that priority, the rules will be evaluated. If it's a allow, then that particular rule will be allowed to communicate to our EC2 instances. If that is not allowed, it's a denial, then it will not be sending the traffic to this Amazon EC2 instances. Now we have a security group also, which is being attached to a EC2 instance. So security group is also a security level filtration where we define the ports and the IPs which will be allowed. The only difference between the security groups and the network ACL is security group is a stateful and network ACL is a stateless. So what we mean by stateful and stateless is stateful, if we define any rules in the inbound section, that whenever there is a connection coming up to that particular resource, the inbound, that if we define that in the inbound, that will automatically be replicated in the outbound. If we are allowing, that will be allowed for the outbound also immediately. We don't have to make any configurations. But in stateless, if we define any inbound, then we have to define the outbound also. It's not automatically being allowed. We have to allow it explicitly in the outbound section of that AC. So now coming on to the route tables. So route table is a logical construct within an AWS VPC that contains a set of rules that are applied to the subnet and used to determine whether our network traffic is directed or not. So route tables can be used to specify which subnets are public and private and how the routings will be dumbing up. So all these traffics which is coming from the router will be then communicating to the route table, where it will check whether that route is being there for a public subnet or we have to communicate to the private subnet. So all the routings will be defined in route tables only for any allowing the traffic to communicate with the public subnet or the private subnet. Now coming on to the internet gateway. So internet gateway is a component which will allow us to communicate between the instances and the internet. So we have created our instance, we have our IPs, but how they will be communicating? So there should be a gateway which will allow the traffic to flow to the internet. So this is the gateway from which the traffic will be flowing in and out. Both the things will be applicable. And this is the virtual network gateways. This will be the VPN connections which we will be making for the on-premises. Suppose a server is being hosted on-premises and we want to communicate it to the cloud. So then we need to have a VPN connectivity between the cloud and the on-prem. So this is the virtual network gateways which will allow the on-prem connections to be establishing up. So let's understand how the traffic will be flowing up in this case. So whenever the user will be there, they will be hitting, if we are on a virtual internet. So when we try to access this public subnet, suppose you want to SSH into this subnet, into this EC2 instance, what first the traffic will be coming up to in the internet gateway. Internet gateway then route it to the particular route tables which are defined based on the rules which is there, that whether the traffic is intended to be routed to the public subnet or whether it's a private subnet. So once this routing table is being evaluated, then a network ACL will be there. So network ACL will check whether that particular port is allowed or not. By default, when we create our network ACL, it manually blocks all the traffic. So we have to define the rules where the network ACLs will allow the traffics. Then if it's a allow rule which is being defined on the network ACL, the connection will be going to the security groups of that EC2 instance. It will then evaluate whether that port on which the IP is making a connection is allowed or not. And once it's being allowed, it will be able to communicate to this EC2 instance. So we can have multiple VPC created in our account, and each VPC can communicate to each other. That communication we will set up through the VPC peering. So peering is basically a rule which will be defined so that the VPC can communicate. It will not be on the subnet levels. It will be at the VPC levels. The 10.0.0/16 IPs will be able to communicate to the other IPs which is defined. It should not be overlapping. IP should not be overlapping, but the allow connections will be only at the VPC level. And these work in a star configuration. So what star configuration means, suppose we have three VPC, A, B, C, and we have paired A and B with each other, and then we have paired B and C. So it means that A is equal to B and B is equal to C. In the normal terms, in the mathematical terms, if A is equal to B and B is equal to C, then automatically A is equal to C also comes into the picture. But in the cloud concept, this will not be applicable. We have to create our own peering connection between A to C. It will not automatically not inherent the peering which is being established between through the B VPC. So hope that makes you more understandable how the star configuration works and what all VPC concepts will be there. So we will be diving up into the console and we'll be creating our first. So now we are at the console level. So let's go first to the VPC section and the dashboard. So on the dashboard itself, there is a utility which is being created by AWS, that is the Launch VPC Wizard. And these are the generic templates which AWS has provided. And based on these templates, you can create your VPCs. So at the backend, what exactly is being going through it, you will not be able to see with these things. So like suppose we have only want a public subnet, then we will select this template. If we want to have a public plus private subnet, then we will be selecting this. And once we select that, we just need to provide the CIDR block range for which we will be requiring the VPC name, the CIDR blocks which will be available, and the private subnets. And then once we click on the create button, then it will be creating all the routes, all the NACLs, everything for us by default by the AWS. So for this demo session, we will be going through the manual steps which we will be performing so that we can correlate with the architecture which we have discussed earlier. So we will go to the VPC section first. Here, our default VPC is being listed up. So the default VPC is having a CIDR range of 172.31.0.0/16, and all the subnets and everything will be there for this VPC only right now. So the route tables, so the route table is there. There's an internet gateway which is attached to this. There will be a NACL which will be associated with this subnet. Okay, so what we will do is we will first go and create our own VPC. So this is the default VPC which is being provided by AWS, and in case accidentally you delete this VPC, then you have to raise a support ticket to restore back this default VPC, because everything which is working right now for you, if you have created any of the EC2 instances hosted up on this VPC, then your servers will not be responding to that. So in order to recover that, there will not be an option like if you create with the same site range with the same root tables, everything, you will not be able to recover it, because these is the IPs which are associated at the backend for this particular account, and AWS support will only be recovering these things for you. So please make sure that you don't delete this default VPC. So now we will click on the create VPC. We'll put it as a name as my VPC. We'll select a CIDR block of 6/16. So this will be our CIDR block. We will not be requiring any IPv6. Then the tenancy will be the default one. We don't need a dedicated because there will be extra cost associated with the dedicated if we select. So a dedicated hardware will be there for our network, and no one else will be able to make any modification. For this demonstration, we will be going with the default tenancy. And then we'll click on the create button. So now the VPC is being created. Let's see what all other components have been created once this VPC is being there. So if you go to the subnets, we don't have any subnets which is being created by default. There is a root table which is created for this VPC. So you can see right now there is no roots being associated with this. The internet gateway, they will not be there. We have to create an internet gateway. Then we go to the network ACLs, and on the network ACLs, we can see that there is one network ACL which is being created for that. And if we go to this, by default, all the ports are being allowed. So as stated earlier, whenever there is a network ACL created automatically, that will allow all the traffics. However, when we are creating it manually, then we will be getting the denial for all the traffic. So I will put it as a, will show you exactly what's happened. So I've created this my ACL, and if I go to this ACL, and here we will be seeing that all the traffics have been denied. So whenever you are creating a manual ACLs, then all the traffics will be denied, and we have to explicitly go and allow the traffics which we need to allow as per our requirements. So now what we will do is we will go to the subnet section and we'll create our subnet. So first we will create our public subnet, which will be able to communicate with the internet. Then we have to select the availability zone. So one subnet can be associated to a single availability zone. And please keep this in mind, because there will be some questions coming up in your certification exams or in your interview questions that a subnet can span it to different availability zones. So that is not being allowed. We can associate one subnet to a single availability zone. So we'll create a subnet and we'll click on create. So our subnet is being created. Then we'll create a one more subnet for this VPC. We'll call it as a private subnet. We'll select it the 2B, and we'll select the IP range 2. So this will be our IP range. So we have created our two subnets. So if we see, both the two subnets have been created for us. Now we have to go to our root tables. So in the root tables, currently there is no subnet association to this. And this is the main root table for this VPC. And we only want our public subnets to be able to communicate to internet. So what we will do is we will create a new root table. We'll call it as a my root. Then we'll create a VPC, attach it to the VPC. And then we'll associate a subnet, which is our public subnet. So once we associate our public subnet to this, then all the traffics which are coming to this public subnet will be able to communicate over internet. But since we have not created any internet gateway since now and have not attached it to our root tables, so we have to create a new internet gateway. So we'll go and name it as my IDW and then create a internet gateway. One internet gateway can be associated to a single VPC. So if we associate this gateway, then this gateway will not be associated with any other VPCs. So that means that a VPC can be associated to a single gateway. There will not be, if we create 3 gateways, then only 2 gateways will be associated with 2 VPCs separately. So we'll go to the actions and we'll attach to a VPC, and in the drop down option we will select it. So if that particular VPC was being already attached to an internet gateway, then we will not be able to see the available VPCs in this section. Okay, so now we have created the internet gateway. What we will do is, in our route tables, we will define a route which will be coming from the internet, like all the destinations which are there will be routed through the internet gateway which you have created, and we'll click on save. And the by default route table which is created for this, in this we will associate a subnet which will be the private subnet. So our private subnet is associated with the main route table, and the public subnet is being associated with the new route table which we have created, which have a route towards the internet gateway. So now what we will do is we will create 2 instances. Now we will create 2 different instances in 2 different availability zones, so that we will have one private server and the other one will be the public server. By default, whenever subnet we create, you can see that on the public subnet, the auto assignment of the public v4 IPs is not being enabled. It's currently disabled. So whenever we provision any resources, by default, no public IP will be assigned to the subnet. So we will modify the auto assignments of this and will enable, so that whenever a resource is being created in this subnet, it will be automatically attached to a public IP by AWS. So now we will select the Amazon machines. We'll select the T2 micro. Now we will select our VPC, and this will be our subnet. So all the instances which will be created in US East 2A only. The subnet auto assign IPs is now enabled. We'll click on the storage. We'll give it as a name as public instance. We'll create a new SG VPC. We'll copy that, we'll put in the description. So now I'm just allowing only the SSH traffic from internet to be accessible to this server. So click on the launch. We'll select the PEM key which is available with me, and then hit the launch button. Now we will be launching one more EC2 instance that will be on the private subnet. So we'll select the VPC, then the private subnet. So my instance will be created in 2B area. Next, the storage will add a tag, private instance. Configure will create a new one, SSH private, and will only allow our traffics from the public subnet, public server only. So all the traffics which are coming from that particular server will be able to communicate that. So let's get the IP which is being allotted for that public server, the private IP which is being attached. So let's grab the IP. So this is the IP. So I will only allow this particular IP to communicate. So no other servers will be able to communicate with this thing. Then we'll create a launch. We'll select I acknowledge. So now this server is being up. So let's into this server. We'll grab the public IP. So this is the public IP. We'll put the .ppk file. This is a ppk file. And now we are able to access this server. So this is our public instance, and if I see, I will be able to communicate with the internet. So that is working fine. Now, in order to access this private instance, since we will not be having any public IPs and the traffic for this server is allowed from this public instance only. So what we will do is we will copy our PEM key, which is there, into this server and will SSH into this server. Later on, we will be able to communicate to this server. So let me configure the PEM key and we'll get back to you. So I have configured the PEM key. I have saved it onto my root file system. This is not the ideal way because this server is being allowed to be accessed through internet and anyone can hack. But for this demo session, I just copied this PEM key into this server. And later on, I will be deleting this instance so that my PEM key will not be compromised and the account will again be secured. So what I will do is I will just grab the private IP of the server, will SSH into the server and will put the IP address. Now I'm able to log in into the server. We'll see if we are able to communicate to Google or not. So this server will not have any access to the internet. They will not be allowed to be accessed through internet. It will be only allowed from the public servers, or you can configure a Bastion host also. So Bastion host, we call it as a jump server also, which allows you to make a connection between your private servers and the public servers. So that is the recommended way of accessing your private servers, or else you can access these private networks through the VPN connectivity which you have from the on-prem services also. Now the question will be like this: our private servers needs to be patched, or somehow they needs to get the traffic, like the outbound should be into the internet gateway, but inbound should not be into the internet gateway. So for that, there is a concept called as NAT gateway is being there. So AWS provides both NAT gateway and the NAT instances. So NAT instance is basically an instance that is designed to accept traffic from instances within a private subnet, translate the source IP to public IP address of the NAT instance, and forward it into the internet gateway. So what that means is whenever we will try to patch our servers, if we go and will see yum update, sorry, we will not be able to communicate to our repositories which are hosted on internet gateway, and because of which we are not able to patch this server. So now what will happen is when we are doing a patch, there will be a outbound traffic which will be going into the internet gateway through the NAT instances only. So what we will do is we will go and create a NAT gateway. So on the VPC section, on the left hand side, you will find a NAT gateway. We'll create one NAT gateway. So we'll my NAT. We'll select a subnet for which we want. We want it for this private subnet. Allocate a elastic IP. I will allocate a single IP and will click on the create. So now the NAT gateway is being created. What we need to do is we have to edit our route tables to this NAT gateway. So what we will do is we will add a NAT gateway and save it in our routes. Now, if we will be trying to ping Google, it will not be going up. However, if we are doing a so basically we have created the NAT gateway not properly. So what we need to do is we will delete this NAT gateway for now. We'll create a new NAT gateway. We'll name it as my NAT only. And see, the subnet which needs to be selected is the public subnet in which to create the NAT gateway. So our public subnet is this one. We'll allocate a elastic IP and then we'll create NAT. So now the NAT gateway is being created. What we have to do is we have to wait till the status gets into the available state. So I will pause the video and we'll come back once the NAT gateway is available. So now our NAT gateway is in available state. We'll go to the route tables again. We'll define the route which we have created earlier. So this will be the NAT gateway. And this will be our NAT. So it's being successfully added to our EC2 instance. Now we will do a ping. And now you can see that we are able to communicate to the internet gateway. And even if we try to update the server, it's available. So what basically it's doing is through the NAT gateway from the private instance, it's communicating to the internet gateway, and from the internet gateway, it's getting the internet connections, the packets from the private public subnet which is being created. So that is the whole architecture or the configurations which will be required in order to create any of the VPCs for your servers. Either you can use the dashboard through this launch a VPC wizard, but my recommendation is first of you should create it manually so that you can get the core concepts involved in creating a VPC. Hope you have liked the video. Please do share with your friends and please do comment if you have any of the queries or questions related to VPC. We'll be happy to answer all your queries and will help you out in the VPC section. Thanks all for watching this video. Bye-bye.